summer of 2011, I was 20 years old and teaching horseback riding. It was the beginning of A session, second period in the morning, and we were expecting the youngest kids in camp next, group 12. It wasn't the greatest weather that day, with rain threatening to bring all the activities indoors. There must have been about 4 to 5 kids in that group, and we were told that Diego Baños' little brother was supposed to be one of them. Diego was a fantastic camper, so we were extra excited to meet Inigo. Unfortunately, that riding period turned out to be an absolute nightmare. Inigo was like a tornado combined with a wildfire combined with an earthquake. His high energy, strong will was something to be seen. Towards the end of second period, it started to downpour. Inigo's fellow group mates all began to walk towards the baseball field on the appropriate path back to camp. Inigo started to walk down the back dirt road, which led away from camp. My fellow counselors and I yelled to Inigo to let him know he was going the wrong way. Inigo then looked straight at us, smiled, and then took off running down the back road. The staff and myself immediately began running after him. We lost sight of Inigo after a few seconds and continued to search the back road for him. After about 15 minutes, we ran to the lodge to ask fellow staff members to come help. When we entered the dining room, there sat Inigo, all dry, playing a board game with a big smile on his face that said, "Ha, I gotcha." The memory of my first time meeting Inigo always brings a smile to my face. When you look at him today, it's hard to remember the squirrely, strong-willed, scheming, loud, very stinky 7-year-old. But I always will. In his 10 summers at Deerhorn, Inigo has changed into a person you should look up to. His empathy for others knows no bounds. He is the type of guy who will always put others first. He is willing to help at any moment and will always have your back. If you're having a rough day, Inigo is there for you, like he has been there for me for the past 10 years. Inigo has shown me that friendship is not just limited to the people of your own age. Inigo and I are 13 years apart, and I consider him to be one of my best friends at camp. Calling Inigo 2 winters ago to tell him he was picked to be a 2020 leader was one of the greatest things I've been able to do as a Deerhorn director. But this is because he is an extraordinary leader and will continue to lead others in the right direction throughout his life, because that's who Inigo is. An amazing, funny, smart, kind, humble, strong leader who I am incredibly proud to call my Deerhorn brother. So with that said, I'm honored to introduce to you all co-leader of the 2021 Deerhorn-Navajos, Inigo Baños.
Before I start, I need to apologize to everyone here. I cannot make justice of what camp means to everyone here as campers with such short time. Has been a safe haven for kids all around the world for almost 100 years, and I can assure you it has been mine for as long as I've been here. One of the main reasons I have adored camp so much is because it took the label of being a bad kid out of my childhood. Although it may be hard to believe right now, I wasn't always well behaved. I got into trouble a lot, I was very impulsive and would act without thinking. At the time, I was getting bullied at school by kids way older than I was. That made me very easy to manipulate, and I just wanted to be impulsive all the time. So if you ask me to do something, I would probably do it. It wasn't until I was 10 years old I started becoming my own person thanks to camp. I became able to stand my ground and stop making bad decisions. That camp year completely changed my life. I don't remember who told me this, and I really wish I could quote him. The quote goes, "There aren't any bad kids, just kids that have been led astray and therefore they make bad decisions." After that, camp became the core reason of all of my success I've made in my life. It made me a responsible young man. That year, leading up to camp, was one of the first times I had a good group of friends back home and at camp. I was truly happy with my life. I arrived that summer and I was super excited because for the first time, I wasn't the youngest one in my family to be at camp. My cousin Francisco was coming up, and the only thing I wanted for him to experience was the same fun that I had experienced for the first time too. That year made my life so much better. That was the year that the second I stepped into camp, I felt like I was a good kid. I had finally come out of being a bad kid into a good kid. I remember the particular memory of the C-Session Awards breakfast of 2015. Me and my Kuji were sitting together, and Spencer Rose came up to give the most outstanding intermediate camper. My whole Kuji and I were pointing fingers at who we thought was gonna win, since we were all intermediates. To my wonderful surprise, I had won, and for the first time in my life, I truly felt like an outstanding kid. That moment meant so much to me, I can't describe it, and I wish I could. It was so incredible for me to finally feel like my life was going to succeed. After that moment, I realized that being a good kid or well behaved gave me way more happiness than being impulsive or quote unquote being a bad kid. COVID was very hard on my mental health. I lost family members and I almost lost my mom in November. In all honesty, I did not think she was gonna make it. During those times, the only thing that kept me going was this summer, reminding myself that no matter how hard my life might get, I have my Deerhorn family. Deerhorn will always hold what I will always think my life is going to turn out to be. It became my only fuel to do anything for months, and I can tell you, those months of battle were completely worth it for me to be standing here right now. When COVID hit, JP, Whitney, Halpin, and I, we didn't know what was going to happen with our leader summer. We kind of accepted the fact that maybe our leader summer was gone. We had group calls and talked about it. We were all really bummed about it, but in one of our calls, we decided that we had to leave our mark at camp. Over the next couple weeks, we stayed in touch, thinking ideas of what we should do. But then we got a group text from Amy asking us to join a Zoom call. In the Zoom call, we were told that we were going to be 8 leaders. We were confused and not knowing how anything was going to work out. But thankfully, for this summer, we had TJ, Jack, and Kiana be our special events guys, because they sure did the best job than anyone could. Thanks to them, we were able to experience the summer and enjoy it as much as we all did. I was very excited once the younger leaders were announced, especially since I was friends with all of them. The months leading up to this summer, Nita and I would call and chat and talk about how excited we were for the summer and all the crazy plans we had in mind. And believe me, crazy plans we did accomplish. Leaders, I want to thank all of you for all of the memories we have been able to create through Sunday events to just hanging out in the white tent. I want to share some things that I have learned from you guys standing by my side. I hope that everyone sitting down here could probably learn this. Halpin, thank you for always looking at the bright side of things. It may sound silly, but you have no idea how much your bright outlook on things has made this summer better for me. Reiner, thank you for showing me that there is a balance between being an extremely competitive person and being kind to every single kid you meet. Your ability to flip that switch will always amaze me, and I will always admire it. Eli, thank you for always being kind. No matter when, where, or who you talk to, or who you're talking with, you will always have nice things to say about everyone, and that quality is truly stunning. Flum, thank you for showing me that perseverance does end up being rewarded. Every single second of every day, you persevere and accomplish so much. You're always so motivated to do anything. It's amazing watching you go. JP, thank you for being so enthusiastic. Every time anyone wanted to play a game or just mess around, every time one of us got excited, you would get excited for us. And it's a quality I think everyone in the world should have. The world would be a better place with more people like you. Strickland, I admire your ability to stand up for your beliefs, especially knowing from the roots that I come from my first year at camp. If I was a younger camper then, I think you would have been the right person for me that I needed at the time, and I admire you. Lastly, Nate, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for always being motivating and checking in on me when I needed it the most. You have truly made this the best summer of my life. Every single harbor story to the cavalry, you made every moment special. I know I'm not as going as I used to be when I was 15. I became anxious and have not been able to do public speaking in a while. Thankfully, I had you by my side to take care of every team meeting, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Nate, I truly admire you. The way you're always kind to everyone and always have a smile is so impressive. You truly carry the Deerhorn spirit. Camp is blessed to have someone like you. You truly are deserving of everything good that will come to you. And I know I might not be here next summer by your side, but hopefully one day we can both lead our own cavalries. Before I finish, I want to give a couple of thank yous. First of all, I want to thank my parents. I could not understand how hard it would be for a parent to send their 7-year-old for 7 weeks to a summer camp that they have barely even set a foot in. I want to thank my Voyagers and Pioneers for helping me lead my team, especially when I would end up being late to some after dinner activities. I want to thank my fellow leaders, and I want to thank Special Events for making this the best summer I could have hoped for. Lastly, I want to thank two people. Well, a family and two people in particular. I want to thank the Broadbridge family for, no matter all of the dumb stuff I did as a kid, always letting me back in open arms for every summer. I want to thank Taylor Broadbridge for always being there for me. Since I was 7 to now that I am 17, you have always been there for me and have always been my rock. The last person I want to thank is Philip Myers. Philip, when I was 14, I came to camp nervous because the year prior to that I had a horrible summer in my opinion, and I did not want to come back. That summer you showed me so much and taught me so much that you became the flame in my heart for camp. I started loving camp more than I ever thought I could, and it's all thanks to you. You were so motivating and such an impressive leader. I wish I could be just like you. The only thing I ask from the people sitting in this crowd as I end this speech is to please remember that there's not such thing as a bad kid. Thank you.
Small group of boys walk down the street, throwing a ball in the air.
start with a quick story about a track and field event I watched in the Olympics the other day. In the men's 800 meter, a runner from the USA collided with a runner from Botswana, and they both fell hard onto the track. They were very clearly out of the race. With Olympic dreams quashed, both of them very well could have stormed off the track, mad at the race, themselves, and each other. However, both athletes felt the Olympic spirit. Isaiah Jewett, the runner from the USA, helped his opponent to his feet, shook his hand, and walked to the finish line with his opponent's arm around his shoulder. I tell you this story because I associate the Olympic spirit with the Deerhorn spirit, and the heroic act by Isaiah Jewett to the character of Nate Appleter. Nate is someone who picks you up when you're down, greets you with a smile, and helps you across the finish line. Especially this year, Appleter is exactly the guy that Deerhorn needs. Nate's first year was 2015, and I admittedly didn't know much about him at first, besides the fact that he was a fantastic swimmer who made it onto the warrior board a lot. In my role at camp, I don't get to meet many of the kids outside of the 15-year-old trip participants, but Nate was always outgoing and friendly, and would visit me while I worked in the wolf pen. He took a genuine interest in what I was doing, what the leadership programs were about, and generally made my day better. When I heard he got the call, I was so excited for him and knew he would be a great leader, but I was worried about how it would work out this year. I didn't know what this year would bring him. What I did know, however, is that if Nate was a part of this summer, he would work hard to make it good. I knew he would put in as much as he could to enjoy his summer and reach the finish line while taking all of us with him. Dr. Don wrote about being an optimist rather than a pessimist, and to be strong because self-reliance is born of strength. Nate embodied these aspects of the creed many times this summer and approached the role of leader in the ideal way. He was a friend to many, always smiling and rolling with the punches. There were no complaints about what was different, only goals of having great days and activities and getting better at everything he does. Nate's favorite line of the creed is to aim for self-improvement. All of you here only for D session may not realize it, but Nate was not always the horseback rider he is now. In fact, he was pretty average at the beginning of the year. But with lots of practice, dedication, and a clear goal for improvement, Nate has excelled to be one of the best riders I've seen at camp and holds the record for most rides as a leader. Through it all, he showed us that it was possible to benefit from being here, and that even in the midst of a pandemic, he could still get a little bit better at everything he did. As great a summer as you might have had, Nate, what you might not realize is how much that spread to others. A lot of us have been through hell these last couple of years, but the attitude you brought to camp this summer, a never-ending optimism, and the ability to make everything fun was contagious enough to become a bright spot. Many of us relied on you to pick us up when we were down and bring us across that finish line with you. Your team saw you around camp, taking the summer by the horns, which inspired them to do the same. They watched you invest your time and energy into your team and knew that their experience on the Navajo would be as great as any summer. They learned from you as you lent a helping hand whenever you could and showed them how hard you and the people of Deerhorn were working to pull this summer off. You were exactly who the kids needed this summer. I relied on you to pick me up as well. Whenever I felt down, you cheered me up with a story of all the fun you had that day or by being one of the best euchre partners in camp. When I was stressed, you were there with the biggest smile ever and the ability to make me laugh harder than anybody else. Whenever I felt things were impossible, I remember that you're the only one who passed the Wolf Den test of manhood. 2 pots that are stuck together and seemingly impossible to pull apart. I thought it was literally impossible until Nate proved me wrong. In all seriousness, you were there for me to bring me across the finish line when I didn't think I could make it. You're responsible for many of the smiles on my face this year, and you're exactly the guy I needed this summer. Lastly, it is obvious that Deerhorn relies on Nate Appleter. At Deerhorn and outside of it, we have all had so much taken from us this year. All of us had pandemic birthdays, some of us missed a season of playing sports, and we all experienced pandemic camp. We had friends go home, traditions get altered, and other friends cancel their time here altogether. Though we have this year under our belts, I still often wonder if things will ever go back to the way they were. I wonder if these abnormalities will become the norm. But even with all that we've lost and the way missed opportunities become a trend, I know that with the help of the guy next to me, camp will persevere. Nate has taught us how to make the most of your time here, even if it looks like this. He showed me, his friends, and camp that we could do it. Even if this craziness is the new normal, I hope you also saw how you could be like Nate and and pick people up while they are down, greet them with a smile, and bring them across the finish line with their arms around yours. I know Nate will continue to do it in the future, and I know that he is exactly the guy that Deerhorn needs. I am happy to introduce this year's co-leader of the Navajo, and a person we all rely on, Nate Atkins.
First arrived at Camp Deerhorn as a 9-year-old shy, homesick, and scared kid. I never expected it to change my life on the magnitude that it did. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I vividly remember sitting in the upper bathhouse crying because I was having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that I was alone for the first time in a foreign place without my mom or dad. But then, something beautiful came out of this dreary situation. A senior camper came over and talked to me for a minute or two, which comforted me and was the first step to me having an awesome session and an even better camper career. I remember the gesture of kindness that camper showed me, and I know that it embodies the Deerhorn spirit. No matter how small an action of kindness can be, the impact can change someone's day or even life. Who knows? I might not even be talking to you now if it weren't for that kid whose name I don't even know. As a camper, I never expected to be a leader, but I always admired leaders and wanted to be one. When I got the offer to be a leader this summer, the answer was quite clear in my head, but pressure from friends and family members forced me to consider my other options. Then, that day, as I pondered the future of my swimming career or my job as a lifeguard, I remembered a conversation I had with the late Andrew Block. He told me that when I was 10, that he had passed on the opportunity to be a leader for sports, and that it was the worst mistake of his life. Looking back on this summer, I can definitely see that my decision was one of the best of my life, and having the opportunity to be a leader and being chosen as one is the honor of a lifetime. Ever since some of my first years at camp, I have been lucky enough to grasp the magic of Deerhorn. I honestly believe that Camp Deerhorn is the best place in the world, and every single soul who comes through here, no matter how young or old, can find a family and a home if they look for it. I know that I have found a home in camp, and urge all of you to look for it as well. The friendships that I've created here will last a lifetime, and the lessons that I've learned here will guide me until I die. Although camp may lie on one of the most beautiful patches of land in the world, it is truly the people that come here who make camp what it is. One of the coolest and most important parts of Camp Deerhorn is the creed that Dr. Don wrote. It is the perfect list of rules that we should all live by, in or out of camp. It embodies the Deerhorn spirit. Following this creed can make huge differences in someone's day. Just like somebody following it changed my day, in my first hours of camp. It's crazy to think that something written 100 years ago can still hold such meaning to this day. My favorite line of the creed is to aim for self-improvement. This line is so important because camp is the best place in the world to improve upon yourself. As a young camper, I was terrified of sailing. However, throughout my years as a camper, I improved on my sailing abilities until I was deemed worthy of receiving the Lloyd Richmond Award. Even this year as a leader, I found ways to improve at camp. I was never a rider as a camper, and throughout the summer, I have improved on my riding abilities until I became confident and calm no matter what the situation on the horse. Lastly, what I believe is the most important thing that you can improve upon at camp is self-confidence. I came into camp my first year as a quiet and shy kid, someone who is neither remarkable nor outstanding. Camp has been a major factor in transforming me into somebody that I consider outspoken and confident enough to be myself. Hopefully all of you strive to be yourselves every day. Now, I would like to thank some special people. First of all, I would like to thank the entirety of L8. I came into the summer skeptical about the idea of 8 leaders instead of the traditional 4, but looking back, I can't imagine it going any other way. I am elated that I got the chance to share the summer with the 7 guys sitting up here with me, and can safely say that they are some of my best friends in the world. Alpin, our antics were hilarious, and memories like Menace Night will always make me laugh. Reiner, I had an awesome time with you this summer, and our shenanigans were legendary. Thanks for being a great friend to me and everybody else who you come across. Eli, you are one of the most genuine people I have ever met. I have always looked up to you, and I recognize your good character. Flom, from when I first met you around 4 years ago, we have always been good friends.
Thank you for bringing the spirit of Deerhorn everywhere you go. JP, I have known you even before I knew about camp. I am lucky enough to call you my friend. Thank you for being a leader among leaders, and I will cherish the memories of our butterfly funerals and making treasure hunts with TJ. Lastly and most importantly, Inigo, I've told you this before, but you are the best co-leader that I could ever ask for, and one of my best friends in the world. My whole camper career, you were like a big brother to me, and I followed your example. I remember being so excited when I texted you telling you that I was your co-leader. Though our time leading together is over, I can't wait to be on staff with you in the future. One of my favorite quotes in the world is, "Don't cry because it's over, but smile because it happened." Thank you for being who you are. I would also like to thank every single Navajo this summer. You guys were the best team I could ever ask for. As a camper, I never lost a summer, so leading a hopelessly far behind team, it was a new experience for me. I can definitely say that you guys rolled with the losses and kept your heads up high. You all showed me why you don't need to win to have fun. Again, thank you, Marshall, Santi, Ian, Hayden, Teddy, Grant, and Huddleston, for being one of the best group of Voyager pioneers and 15-year-olds ever. You all are leaders in your own rights, and I can't wait to see you again on staff. Thank you to every single staff member this summer for making this place as great as it is. I wanted to call out every single one of you, but I didn't want us to be here all night. You guys have made the summer awesome for every single person here, and I plead you all to come back next year. Thank you, Jacko and TJ, for being great special events. You really made this summer great for all of us leaders. Thank you, the Broadbridge family, for keeping the best place in the world open for as long as you have. Last but not least, thank you so much, Mom and Dad, for letting me come here every year. I love you. I asked CJ and Trevor to sing the song Night Rider's Lament for me because I believe that it can be interpreted in a way that we all can relate. Whenever you're going away for the summer and your friend asks you, "Why are you going away for so long?" and you can't really explain Deerhorn, nobody really can. This song is about somebody who rides for his money and is always asked why. It is similar to your experience at camp. As my speech comes to an end, and my camper career does as well, I want to impart you with one last piece of wisdom. Whatever you give to camp, camp will give back to you fourfold. I believe that. Thank you.
While I was out riding, graveyard shift midnight till dawn, the moon was as bright as a reading light, a letter from an old friend back home. He asked me, "Why do you ride for your money? Tell me, why do you roll for short pay? You ain't getting nowhere and you're losing your share. You must have gone crazy out there." Well, last night I run on to Jenny. She's married and has a good life. Well, you sure miss this camp when you never come back. She's the perfect professional's wife. She said, "Now why does he ride for his money? Tell me, why does he roll for short pay? He ain't getting nowhere and he's losing his share. Boy, he must have gone crazy out there." But they've never seen the northern lights, never seen a hawk on its wing, Never seen the spring at the Great Divide. Oh, they've never heard old C.J. Yeager sing. Well, I read up the last of my letters. I tore off the stamp of Black Jim. Billy rolled up to relieve me. He just looked at my letter and grinned. He said, now why do they ride for their money? Tell me, why do they roll for short pay? They ain't getting nowhere and they're losing their share. Boy, they all must be crazy out there. 'Cause they've never seen the northern lights, never seen a hawk on its wing, never seen the spring at the Great Divide. Oh, they've never heard old Camp Deerhorn sing. Yodelay, yodelo, lady-o, yodelay, 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 yodelo, lady-o, yodelay, yodelay. I yodelay, yodelay, yodelay.
This concludes the 2021 Water Campfire. I'd like to thank all 8 leaders behind me for an amazing summer. We couldn't have done it without them battling through all the obstacles that they had to face. Also want to give a big thanks to all you guys for staying quiet and being respectful during the speeches. We ask you all stay quiet and silent back to your koojies tonight and finish off this summer on a great way. Thank you all for coming.